Hello, welcome to the Iris podcast. I'm Lucy Smith. I'm here today with Nichola Wong, director of The Passing, which has been shortlisted for the Best British and International Iris Prize short this year. Hi Nichola, thanks so much for joining.
Hi. Very happy to be here.
Lovely to have you.
Yeah, and sharing my film with the Iris audience.
And so amazing to have you talking about your film to a wide audience this year. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Really thrilled to be part of the lineup and excited to see what people think.
Yeah. So your film, The Passing, it follows Yasmin. Is it Yasmin or Yasmin?
Yasmin.
Yeah. Cool. The E threw me off there. I don't know why. So she's a mortician who one day is working on a body of someone that she used to know very well.
Yeah.
This is a really unusual sort of tale of lost love.
Yeah.
Can I ask, where did the writing start? Because you wrote it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not from one of my own experiences.
Okay, this is good.
So I started writing the film at the start of 2019. I happened to be on a scheme at the National Film and Television School in Beaconsfield, and so I wrote it as part of that scheme.
Okay.
And the inspiration really came like a couple of years ago when I watched a video of a mortician who was talking about her work. And she was talking about her work as though it was something of great beauty and importance, and as though it was a gift to the family of the deceased and the deceased themselves to depart into the afterlife, sort of looking at peace. And I think, like, typically morticians or anybody who work in the deaf industry are portrayed in a sort of gruesome and creepy light. And actually, you know, I think what they do is a sacred role, and there's a lot of craft behind what they do. They're both scientists and artists, and I wanted to make a film that sort of showed their profession in a sort of kinder, more human light, but also I wanted to make a film that touched on the sort of topics about death and regret. As well as incorporating other things like love and loss and reawakening.
Yeah, did you spend much time with, like, was that documentary mostly the only thing you saw, or like did you spend time with morticians and seeing what they do?
No, I mean, most of my research was online, so I was inspired by this particular woman who was just talking about her profession in a really nice, kind way, a gentle way, and then I just started researching more and more off the back of that. And I mean, I did sort of get into more specifics around the process, but I've never met anyone who's done that job.
But you can tell how in depth you got. That's why I asked, because there's just some beautiful shots and you really focus in. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the acting as well, because obviously you've got the older Yasmin, who's so brilliant at sort of showing just the little things about noticing bits about the body, and the younger Yasmin as well is brilliant. And I kept noticing that they had sort of similar gestures and things like that. How closely did these actresses work together?
I mean, the casting was a challenge, so that was one of our big challenges, in that I wanted younger and older Yasmin to have similar traits in terms of features.
Yeah.
I luckily ended up with two actresses who like had a similar profile, and, you know, they look very similar. Like, some people have even said, is it the same person? So I got really lucky.
Right, yeah.
But they hadn't actually worked together throughout the film, so they were shooting on separate days. And I mean, there's no explanation behind why they have like similar gestures.
Amazing that you found them both, and these things that slot in. Did you find it a hard process to get everything to slot together to make this film, or did you find that most of the decisions kind of came quite smoothly? Yeah,
I mean, there's always so many challenges when you're making a film, so we had various challenges, as you do. One of them was like sourcing a location that was authentic for the present day, on a tiny budget. So, that requires being creative and like really thinking outside the box in terms of like how you can find somewhere on a budget. So I wrote to, 100 funeral directors.
Okay.
None of them got back except for one who happened to have a location that I could use that has not been used for a good period of time, thankfully.
Good on you.
And then, the challenging was also, the other challenge was also the casting. So I had a really good casting director on board called Leanne Flynn. And just the sort of usual process, self-tapes, then auditions. And I didn't for a very long time have my younger Yasmin, way up until like 2 weeks before.
2 weeks?
Yeah, so I didn't find my younger Yasmin during the casting.
Okay.
But I found my older Yasmin, so it made it more difficult and easier at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to ask, so the film comes to terms, Yasmin in the film comes to terms with her sexuality. It's in a very subtle way, but by the end of the film, she is sort of, she takes off her wedding ring and she gets on the phone to call her mum. Is this in any way a cautionary tale? This character has not lived the life she'd like to for so long. Is that in any sense what went into the writing, or is this purely society's pressures have made her a victim of this and she hasn't been able to live as she'd like?
Mm-hmm. I think it's definitely a cautionary tale. So, as I said before, it's about death and regret, but also love and awakening. And, naturally, we don't like to talk about our own mortality or think about it. And I think there's a narrative in our culture that we kind of find clarity when we come close to death. And in those moments, we come closer to what we really want, but that can often be too late. So I wanted the film to be about just embracing life and not letting the moments pass you by, whether they are, small moments or life-defining moments, and it can be in the context of anything. So this is sexuality and love, but it could be anything that you want to do, like to feel happier, Maybe you've always wanted to live in a foreign country and work abroad, or maybe you want to buy a motorbike, or maybe you want to, make amends with someone that you've fallen out with. So, it's a film for everyone, really.
Yeah. Did you feel writing and making this film, did you think about that in your own life more, these ideas of you must do the things that you've been holding off and things like that? Do you, basically, when you write films, do you feel that they impact your own life as well?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So I think, the idea behind the film is quite sobering, and then also going to the location where it was set was very sobering, in that it makes you realise that, life is too short and that you should try and live authentically, like be happy now in the moment.
Yeah. Do you think there was any way for Yasmin's character to have done that? I mean, early on in the film, when she's just sort of falling in love with this, when they're younger, this other girl, and her mum, gives her a slap, and that's like the main part of the film she keeps remembering. Do you think there was a way for Yasmin to push past that, or was it inevitably going to be coming out in later life?
Yeah, I mean, she was young, and of course she cares what her mum thinks, and there's that you have society's pressure represented in the mum. So maybe she could have stood up to her.
Is the film a cautionary tale about that, do you think, the change in those moments? Because it almost felt like within that family dynamic, it was very hard for Yasmin. She couldn't quite have pushed past that. Mm-hmm. We understand why she did what she did.
Yeah.
For example, yeah.
I don't know. It depends on the mother character. You have people who can change and accept loved ones. And now there's less stigma attached. There's more exposure and education about the community, which makes acceptance sort of easier.
So the two things sort of go along together then, the living authentically, but also the world actually letting you.
Yeah.
They'll go together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I had a question about the mum and this phone call at the end about how much you think, as the writer of the film, how much you think that Yasmin's mum might have changed and how would the phone call have gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I assumed that the phone call would be, look, mum, here's everything I've never really talked to you about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what happened in the past definitely in some way stopped them from being close, because Yasmin wasn't able to be herself and live her truth. So yeah, I probably think that she definitely calls her mum and, wants to have a confrontation with her mum, and she probably, wants to tell her that she doesn't want to live a lie anymore.
How would the mum take it? I know this is...
Yeah.
I know when you write a film, maybe you're not necessarily, you don't need to know, you just need to know the story you're telling and none of the before and after. But yeah, I'm curious.
I think ultimately that the mum, I'm an optimist, so
nice.
I would like to think that the mum, needs a bit of adjustment time, needs to empathise with her daughter and have her worldview widened, but ultimately would accept her in the end. And she, because she's been honest about herself, Yasmin, it might bring them closer together. Nice. And she stood up for herself,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit. Did you want a drink? Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So yeah, about the way you film and the shots you have, the visual aspect of you capturing them falling in love. You've got focus on the body parts, which again could have been quite creepy, but wasn't. Focus on this woman that she fell in love with so long ago. Focus on her body, which is now dead. The body parts crossed in with the images from the past, and you linger on the characters' looks. Again, I thought the acting was lovely with that. And yeah, the whole thing, it woke me up as a viewer to thinking about the ways we notice each other and ways people communicate without talking as well. And just this, it woke me up a bit to the world and made me think things that I don't usually think about.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important for films to almost wake the viewers up and be like, look at the world in this way?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you liked all those details. I think, film's really important in that aspect. That's a really powerful thing about film, is that it presents new perspectives. It focuses your attention on things that you wouldn't ordinarily notice and gives you sort of eyes into new worlds, and also puts you into characters' shoes that you could be so far removed from. And that's what's really powerful about it, because it helps us all to negotiate our humanity, our common humanity, and bring us together. And I think that's obviously really vital in such a divided world. And, that's why diverse stories are really important as well.
Were you conscious of, because as you say, it's a universal feeling, just eyes meeting or focusing on the body parts of someone you just really fancy. But this is a female gaze and another female gaze.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost normalised because of this, normalised for those who wouldn't find it normal, because of this sort of universal feeling of love is love. Human bodies are human bodies. Were you conscious that... What am I trying to say?
It's okay.
I think I sort of mean, I might have seen these things in films before in heterosexual relationships, and yeah, I may have seen them between women before, but it feels almost important to say this is a universal thing. This is how two humans are attracted to each other, and you're going to show it in such minute detail.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like everyone could connect to that.
Yeah.
Even people who aren't used to seeing, you know, gay people on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you conscious of showing that in a sort of LGBT plus like positive light, or did it literally feel just a universal thing to be filming?
It just felt very universal to me. So, you know, none of what I've done or the shots I've done purposely, you know, to represent a specific gaze. It just felt natural for me.
Yeah.
In telling that story. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose talking a little bit more again about the way you film and the shots you have.
Mm-hmm.
There were things like some beautiful shots, like on the piano there was sort of like rainbow light falling through the window, and you've got like blood dropping through water at one point. Again, all these things that make the film not so creepy but beautiful instead. And when you go about writing for your film, are you aware of how it's visually going to look? Do you have these shots in there, or on the day do you just sort of, that looks beautiful, let's do that? Does it come organically?
Some bits are written into the script. So I'm a very visual writer, so a lot of elements will already be written into the script. So, for example, the blood in the water was written into the script.
Okay.
But the rainbow on the keys was not. So that turned out really nice in the end, and I'm really proud to have a rainbow emblem in the film.
Yes.
And that's something I come up with the DOP, Matt Fahey, and it was like a key moment in the film because I wanted it to be almost a turning point in that we start to see Yasmin reawakening, like something's being stirred in her. And I wanted to represent that in like the cinematography and the light, because I had this whole concept of light and dark, and the light being connected to life and the dark to death, which was, she was figuratively dead at the beginning, Yasmin. So I wanted some sort of prism light on the keys, because as a sort of refraction of light, so change in direction of light to represent her sort of reawakening. I know nobody's going to get that.
All these things that people would never think about, but I'm asking about it, so it clearly made an effect on me, that shot. So everything's quite intentional, but some bits are not written into the script, and then extra bits come from, sitting down with your heads of department to see how you can make things better. So I'll have a blueprint of an idea. For example, I wanted a prism, didn't end it with a prism, ended it with a rainbow. And that's just something you discuss with your team, like how can you make these elements better and, represent. Much detail goes into it. Yeah. Do you enjoy that part, the detail and...
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite a detailed person, so I do lots of planning and lots of shot referencing, and then always, get the team to layer on top of that.
Yeah, I think it helps. I mean, it's such a beautiful film. I wanted to ask a little more about, because it occurred to me when I rewatched it as well, this could be so morbid. You got a dead body and this love story sort of crossed with it, but I'm still trying to work out how you've made it just so beautiful. And were you aware of the balance of there's this lovely love story and then it cuts to, it does make an effect on you, it cuts to a dead body and she's looking at this person who's not there anymore. But was there ever a version of the film where it came across creepy and you had to dial it back?
I think it could have easily gone that way, and I was definitely always mindful of the balance, not to go too dark in her in the present. So I mean, it was the small touches, so I wanted Yasmin to be someone who really cared about her job. And
it's not creepy for her, so
it's not creepy for her.
Us.
She does it with care and kindness, and I think that comes across in how she's interacting with the body.
Yeah.
She's very gentle. And then, soft touches like making the environment less sort of sterile and brutal. So she brings flowers to work, which, are flowers for her client. So it's just like adding warmer touches to the present day.
Yeah.
And then I think the sort of juxtaposition of the past and present. So there's a lot of shots filled with life in the past. It balances it out nicely, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah. Where did filmmaking start for you?
So it came to me a bit later in life. So I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and I didn't get to watch a lot of TV and film when I was younger, unfortunately. And I was really into the arts growing up, though, and writing poetry. So I think through those mediums, I was sort of storytelling and, sort of honing my visual eye. And then when I moved to London, I started immersing myself in film, and it was one car away.
What was it like to... Yeah. I assume you moved away and you could suddenly watch any TV and film you wanted.
Yeah, and I was also not in the church anymore.
Right, okay.
So I was immersed in the world.
Yeah.
And it was... it was fascinating, really,
Did you sort of fall into it? Did you start binging?
Yeah, I think in the beginning it was just commercial films, rom-coms, whatever.
Go to the cinema, see what's
on.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And then I started getting more into art house films, so it was One Car Away that really made me want to write and be a filmmaker. So my favourite films are In the Mood for Love and Happy Together.
I can't say I've seen any of them.
Yeah, they're really
I will be checking them out.
Beautiful. So it was him really that set me off on this journey, started writing and trying to hone my writing craft, and then I wanted to start directing. And then I made my first short film, which was Skinship, and then I've just been hooked ever since. So.
You say, I wanted to direct and I started doing that. Was that, did you feel like you had the confidence after the writing to just dive into it? Or was there, a muddy ground you're not covering?
I wouldn't say I felt confident. Like, I still don't feel confident, like, shooting. You always, like...
That's interesting.
I always feel like I don't know enough. And because you're not shooting often, like, your shoots are very spread out, you don't get to... necessarily develop your craft until you're on the shoot. So
would you ever want to get to a point where you feel like I know everything and I'm not nervous, I don't need to learn anything? Or do you feel like, because I feel like that could be where the directing art ends?
Yeah, I think I was always want to feel a bit nervous about directing. I would always want to be able to keep learning and not know everything, because I think that's what keeps it exciting.
Definitely.
I think you're always learning, though, like even the top directors.
Yeah, surely. I think that's the good ones anyway, are always searching for more, seeing what they can do next.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What would you say is the most important part to film for you? Like, of film in general, watching or directing, like what does it do for you?
Do you mean like how does it make me feel?
Yeah, either that or actually let's go with that.
I mean what I love about film and like why I want to write and direct film is that I just think it's the most powerful art form. It brings together all the things I love, so like sound design, music, production design and photography. So it brings all those different art mediums and, produces this really powerful art form that, like I said, like can really, affect people and move people and educate them and take them into worlds that they've never been to before, or put them into other people's shoes. And I think that's what, for me, is so appealing about it, And like a lot of the films I've watched, just the way they've made me feel, like
more so than
it's just a very intimate thing to like share with people and be able to make them feel a certain way.
Yeah. What do you have? Do you have anything in mind for your next projects? Like, have you got anything lined up at the moment?
I don't have any short films at the moment, so...
You said you'd done 3 short films, is that right?
I've done 3 short films, which I've written myself, but I'm keen to direct someone else's script. So if anyone has a script,
send them away.
But I know I'm wanting to work on longer format content. So I'm just working on sort of transitioning to that, and I'm writing a TV pilot, nice. Which I've been writing this year.
Are you able to tell us a little bit about
what
I can
tell you a little bit. So this was something that I'm developing with Sundance, so it's been really nice to have their support through the pandemic. It's a period drama set in Victorian England, and it's a female-led narrative, and it's about women through sport finding identity, freedom, and power.
The word sport threw me right off there. I don't think I've seen anything like... So, did you say Victorian England? Sorry. But women's sport in Victorian England. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to need to watch this because nothing comes to my mind. I'm imagining like the big hooped skirts and people running around. But Yeah,
so a vigorous sport as well. So, back in the Victorian era, it was very restrictive and women should not be involved in vigorous activity.
Of course,
and it was, seen as very unfeminine. So I'm sort of exploring that in my TV pilot. Yeah,
brilliant. That's great.
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
Very excited about it.
Yeah, and I also want to ask, because your film is put in for Best British and International this year, the International Iris Prize award is £30,000.
Yeah.
What would you do with that if you got that?
I do have some short film ideas on the back burner. What would I do? I'd make another film. I mean, Do you know what sort of film?
Or would you wait and see how
I'm not sure yet, so we'd have to wait and see.
Be a good sort of career progressor, though,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any advice for filmmakers who are just starting out? So, for example, when you were just starting out, what would you have told yourself?
I have loads of advice, but to highlight, I would say, be yourself. Don't try and be what you think the industry wants you to be. So, be brave, and what the industry and an audience is looking for is your voice and your uniqueness and your perspective. And I think an audience or the industry really appreciates authenticity. I think second, just be open. So like filmmaking is a team sport. Just really be open, take feedback, take different perspectives from people in your team. Really use their talents to make your project better.
Are you talking the crew here mostly?
Yeah, like your heads of departments. So just be really open to their ideas because it will make your project better.
Okay. Is this coming from a place of not having been so open to other ideas and having an idea of what the industry wanted you to do? Was that where you were? Or
yeah, I just think over my period of making films, it's helped me to find my voice and my authenticity and really tapping into my own identity and stories. I've only just started really doing that, like over the last couple of years. But it makes a difference because I've noticed that like the industry just really want to hear your stories, like where you've come from, your experiences. So, try not to be too guarded and like open up yourself. And then other advice, just basically failure as part of your job. So it's inevitable. So like the sooner you can accept that, like the easier it will be. So, brush yourself off, like this is just one of many opportunities, and then just keep moving forward. And then my last one would be on balance. So
I love this, lots of advice.
Balance. Like mental health was really important. So I think as filmmakers, we can become really invested in the work. And over invested, and I mean I'm talking about me personally and probably some other filmmakers I know. When you invest so much, sometimes it can take the joy away, like it becomes stressful sometimes. So what I'm saying is you need balance. So still live your life, get hobbies, keep your finger in different pies, speak with your friends, carry on living, basically. And that's going to make your work stronger as well. Like particularly if you're a writer too, because you need to like have life experience. So balance is really important. And then the last one, just one last one, was there's a really cool like online manual which is going around the industry at the moment. That was started by Lewis Arnold and National Film and Television School. It's called Directors Now. And it's basically profiles 100 directors in the industry who've just sort of broke through, and it just, they talk about their war stories and like their tips for newbie filmmakers and like how they broke through. So I find that a really like inspiring document. There's lots in there, so I definitely recommend.
Sounds great to check
having
out.
a look at that.
Definitely. And not having the fear of failure, I love especially. I think a lot of people could do with hearing that, especially in the like starting out with their especially art.
It's difficult.
Careers in art.
Yeah, definitely. Things, but it's just part of the job, and your project isn't going to be right for everyone, but it will be right for someone. So you've just got to keep pushing forward and believe in yourself. I like that. So my final question is so Iris Festival is online this year. Everyone's watching from their homes. They might be in groups with their cat, whatever. How are you watching Iris this year, and what's your best advice? Should everyone get their mates round, order pizzas, or do you want a dark room and best sound you can get? How would you do it? Well, I mean, I would definitely like have the best screen available, so watch it on your TV if possible, with a good sound system, or if you're on a laptop, definitely use headphones, because like the sound is
I end up putting my laptop very close to me and pretending we've got a cinema screen, but the sound isn't as good.
It will definitely be a more immersive experience if you wear headphones. And I'm going to be watching it with hopefully a few friends, if the restrictions allow it, and with my poodle Biscuit.
Did you say the poodle was Ginger?
Yes,
so like Ginger Biscuit.
Yeah.
Very cute. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been a pleasure too.
It's been really nice
for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and watching. This was the Iris podcast, and remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and enjoy the festival this year.